everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Emily Campagno here with my co-host Harris Faulkner, and also joining us today, Kennedy, host of Kennedy on Fox Business, Fox News contributor Lisa Boothe, and Sean Duffy, former Wisconsin congressman and the co-host of The Bottom Line on Fox Business. Now we begin with the fallout from the U.S. military shooting down the Chinese spy flight over the Carolina coast. Now China is threatening retaliation, and its foreign ministry just confirmed it has another aircraft flying over the skies of Latin America. Meantime, U.S. Navy divers are working to recover the debris, trying to gather any intel they can from it. That aircraft was first spotted by residents of Montana more than a week ago, which was days after it first entered U.S. airspace from mainland China. And that's leading to questions about when the Biden administration first learned of it and why it waited so long to shoot it down. Instead, the aircraft was allowed to travel across the continental U.S., flying over at least 5 sensitive military sites. Finally, on Saturday, an F-22 took it out. The incredible moment only seen live on Fox News. Our team capturing the strike with this exclusive video. And now Republicans want answers. They want to know why the president waited days to take any action at all. Watch.
Why didn't the president go on television? He has the ability to convene the country in cameras and basically explain what we're dealing with here and why he's made the decisions he's making and what they intend to do. And his failure to do so is, I don't understand that. I don't understand why he wouldn't do that. And that is the beginning of dereliction of duty. The
president taking it down over the Atlantic is sort of like the quarterback, sort of like tackling the quarterback after the game is over.
Letting a Chinese surveillance balloon lazily drift over America is like seeing a robber on your front porch and inviting him in. It makes us look weak and flat-footed on the world stage.
We need a commander-in-chief that's able to respond, and a national defense that is able to respond within seconds to minutes to penetration of our airspace. This looks very, very weak in the eyes of our enemy.
What began as a spy balloon has become a trial balloon, testing President Biden's strength and resolve, and unfortunately, the president failed that test.
Sean, on the heels of these critiques, the WSJ editorial board wrote a scathing editorial that was quite factual and rational in its assessment of President Biden's response and the administration's handling of the looming threat to begin with. And they closed by saying, look, there's no such immunity of parties selling this fantasy that it will be safe if we withdraw from engagement overseas. They say the Biden administration should be helping Americans understand the reality of China's rapidly advancing military technology rather than patting itself on the back with mission accomplished briefings.
So
what say you?
As horrible as this story is, I think that's one benefit that comes out of this. Because if you hack our computers, you steal our intellectual property, no one really sees that. But when they see this balloon come over the country over sensitive sites, all of a sudden I think Americans see this as a real threat from China, and I think they want their government to respond. But you look at China, making these claims that they're going to retaliate against the U.S. What arrogance of this country to send a spy balloon over our sensitive military sites, and we shoot it down after they go over the whole country. And they're like, we're going to retaliate against you. I think they believe, and maybe rightfully so, that Joe Biden is stupid, that the military is stupid, that our companies are stupid because they're so easily able to steal and take American technology, and there's no real defense there. So they think they have the upper hand on the U.S., and they're playing that hand.
And that's part of the argument, Harrison. You explored this last hour, which is that the CCP, frankly, has been infiltrating myriad areas of our national sovereignty for quite some time. Perhaps this spy balloon is simply the visual reminder that Americans now have. So silver lining, great, it's on everyone's radar. But this is just the tip of the iceberg, and it's just the latest in them attempting to penetrate our sovereignty, which under this administration seemed to work.
Look, if you're China, you are looking for any reason for the United States to let you go take Taiwan. Well, hello.
Yeah.
There you go. And I hear you saying, well, retaliation, they're overreacting, blah, blah, blah. I don't think that they really want to retaliate. What they want is a reason to retaliate. And retaliation could look like, we're going to do what we want in Taipei. Thank you very much. I mean, this is such a dangerous mix, if you will, of not being prepared technologically and technically. I mean, maybe the Pentagon was going to do a better job. The former bomb technician on our staff for the Marines, Joey Jones, said he doesn't think that. He thinks the military knew what to do, but that somebody maybe needed a PR campaign. And who would that be on the night before the State of the Union, right? So, I mean, when I look at this, I think China now is in such a different and better position as a global enemy than they ever were before. I mean, they messed with us for days. By the way, we don't even know how many days, really. Do you believe it's 8? Maybe it was 20. We don't know.
But aren't they emboldened, Harris? They're emboldened to come and talk to the U.S. like that, to say that we're going to retaliate that you shot down our spy balloon?
Of course they are.
You're right.
Yeah, I mean, after Afghanistan, no penalty there. Why wouldn't they be emboldened? But now in front of the whole world, something flying over Montana, a nuclear weapon site, and we sit as a country and wait.
Well, I joked on Twitter, but, quasi-serious, that this balloon might as well have been shaped as a middle finger. I mean, because that's essentially what the message China was delivering to us, particularly before Secretary Blinken was supposed to go to Beijing for talks, right? It's just a flagrant middle finger to America, but because weak men create instability, and that's where we are in this world with Putin invading Ukraine and then this as well. But, our leaders are really already compromised. I mean, when you look at Joe Biden's family, the amount of money they've taken from China, you look at the fact that Senator Dianne Feinstein employed a Chinese spy as her driver for 20 years, the fact that Eric Swalwell had a relationship with a Chinese spy. But my bigger concern is, the Washington Examiner reported that these kind of high altitude balloons could be used as a nuclear strike on our power grid. And when you look at things like the Eastern Power Grid supplies 75% of U.S. electricity, is this a dry run for something bigger? So, unfortunately, I don't know what we can do when we have such weak leaders and Joe Biden in office.
Yeah, it's such a great point, Lisa, and the electromagnetic pulse that could infiltrate or have an effect on our clearly vulnerable electromagnetic system. And a lot of questions are raised, too, when you point that set of goggles inward, which is the president said, I told them to shoot it down right away. Well, they didn't, so were his orders ignored? He also mentioned the specificity, right, that we have coming out of the Pentagon. Well, that could have destroyed 2,500 lives or 2,000 people in Montana. That seems to be such a specific number. How do they know that with certainty? And if so, then why, when it was over the Pacific, wouldn't that have been the course of action? So
I don't know if they saw it over the Pacific. And I think that's one of the things that's so troubling here is what this showcases is our glaring vulnerabilities. And what worries me is we have spent so many trillions of dollars on, programs that have been just ripe for corruption, when part of that money should have been going to our own cybersecurity and infrastructure, keeping our power grid safe, keeping things safe from sensitive prying eyes who have no problem violating our airspace. And it was one of the rare areas where people were truly united. Everyone you talk to, no matter what their political party, no matter their age, they were all watching this thing going, shoot it down. Yeah. You can see the threat. And to your point, it is a visual reminder, because the other stuff, intellectual property, sometimes that's hard, that's a theoretical thing that doesn't seem to affect people's daily lives. They can see this, absolutely. And I think it was one of those galvanizing things. The president didn't have a choice, but was he informed?
Right. You know what I think about, too, you guys, is obviously the CCP knew that we would take it down, or I would hope they would know that we would take it down, which means that it was somehow expendable to them, which means that the intel they got from whatever life it led must have been so valuable as to make that worth it. And that is what terrifies me.
They killed their own people for like Olympic building.
Right.
I mean, these are people who don't really care about much.
Right.
But I think that what you put your finger on, talking about the other finger, Lisa Boothe, is true.
Not the middle one on this show.
They told us what they think of us.
That's right.
And as I said on the Faulkner Focus, do they think that of us or just him? Because I mean, I don't want them to think that about us. We have an amazing military.
That's right.
Like, it's unfortunate that they think it about him, but that's on him.
That's right, it is. All right, so much. We'll keep you posted on all developments, of course.